parking. Ryanair 8581 taxi to General Aviation parking via taxiway Papa Romeo Papa Juliet. Taxiing to General Aviation parking via taxiway Papa Romeo Papa Juliet Ryanair 8581. Ryanair 8581, hold position, caution, other traffic. Hold position, Ryanair 8581.
Stansted Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra at runway 04 ready for departure to the north. Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra altimeter tree, 0.30 wind 012 at 14. North departure, approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 04. Cleared for takeoff runway 04 Cessna, X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Stansted Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra, continue for north departure. Golf Sierra, leaving my airspace frequency change approved. Stansted Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra frequency change. Approach Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra is type Cessna C25C 4 miles southeast of Echo Golf Tango Sierra 2,200 feet. Request, flight following. Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra approach. Squawk 0517. Squawk 0517 Cessna, X-Ray Golf Sierra. Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra radar contact 2 miles south of Echo Golf Tango Sierra, 3,400 feet. Altimeter tree, 0.30. Roger Cessna, X-Ray Golf Sierra. Golf Sierra contact Cambridge approach on 120.965. Good day. 120.965 Cessna, X-Ray Golf Sierra. Cambridge approach Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra, 4,500 feet. Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra Cambridge approach altimeter 30.30 continue as planned. 8.475 Cessna, X-ray Golf Sierra. London Center Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, 8,700 feet.
Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, London Center altimeter 30.30, continue as planned.
Center, Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra. Request clearance to transition, Charlie airspace.
Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, London Center. Cleared through the Charlie airspace.
Cleared through Charlie airspace, Cessna, X-ray Golf Sierra. X-ray Golf Sierra. Manchester Center, Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra flight level 255. Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra Manchester Center, continue as planned. Manchester Center, Edelweiss 300 is at flight level 365, descending 10,000 feet. Edelweiss 300 Manchester Center, continue as planned. Manchester Center, Easy 1984 is at flight level 245, descending 2,600 feet. Easy 1984 Manchester Center, continue as planned. Easy 1984, you are 63 miles southeast. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed not above 210 knots. Expect ILS runway 05 right approach via Mike Charlie Tango transition. Clear to Mike Charlie Tango. Manchester Center, Easy 255 is at flight level 280, descending 10,000 feet. Easy 255 Manchester Center, continue as planned. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed not above 210 knots. Expect ILS runway 05 right approach via Mike Charlie Tango transition. Clear to Mike Charlie Tango AC 1984.
Last of our troops there. On the other side, the risk of renewed conflict with the Taliban and potential terror attacks. Tonight, the pace of evacuation flights is picking up, but will it be quick enough as the clock winds down? Peter Alexander has late details.
Tonight, with a frantic rush to evacuate stranded Americans and desperate Afghans, and despite pleas from U.S. allies at a G7 meeting this morning to stay longer, President Biden is sticking with his self-imposed August 31st deadline for U.S. forces to leave Afghanistan.
We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better.
It follows a secret meeting Monday in Afghanistan between CIA Director William Burns and a top Taliban leader who previously spent 8 years in prison after being arrested by the CIA. After the meeting, the Taliban declaring the U.S. must go by the end of the month, as promised, threatening consequences if not. The president today saying he's asked for contingency plans to stay longer if needed, but that he's worried about a terror attack there.
I'm also mindful of the increasing risks that I've been briefed on. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport.
Tonight, U.S. officials tell NBC News 4,000 Americans and their families have been evacuated from Afghanistan, but thousands more remain trapped. The U.S. is still relying on the Taliban to allow safe passage for Americans to the airport that the State Department warns is a dangerous trip. And the Taliban is now vowing to block Afghans from leaving. The White House says evacuations have accelerated 12,000 people in the last 12 hours. But a top Democrat argues it's very unlikely the U.S. will be able to get all Americans and Afghan allies out in 7 days.
It's hard for me to imagine all of that can be accomplished between now and the end of the month.
Republicans slamming President Biden for the chaotic withdrawal.
Particularly after the decision made today and what we heard today, he will have blood on his hands. People are going to die, and they're going to be left behind.
Meanwhile, Afghan refugees arriving today in the U.S. are detailing their terrifying exit from Kabul, saying people died in the chaotic crush trying to get to the airport.
Yeah, the children were dying because there were many people, they were pushing that they have to get to the flight, yes, to the terminal.
And Peter, there have been some reports about refugees evacuated by the U.S. facing some pretty dire conditions at a Qatari airbase. What do we know?
That's right, Lester. Axios obtained internal government emails that say those refugees are, quote, living in hell, including a rat infestation. The Pentagon says it's worked quickly to provide humanitarian assistance. Also tonight, the White House acknowledges to get American troops out by the 31st, evacuations will have to wind down even sooner. Lester?
A lot of moving parts tonight, Peter. Thank you. And on the ground in Afghanistan this evening, signs everywhere of an era coming to an end. Many still desperate to get out in time. The airlift now in overdrive. The Taliban exerting new authority. Richard Engel is there tonight.
At Kabul International Airport, time is running out. The U.S. and NATO allies have just 1 week to pull out all their citizens and vulnerable Afghans after the Taliban today again insisted they'd accept no extensions beyond August 31st, or there'd be consequences. The U.S. Embassy apparently feeling the strain, issuing a final alert for American citizens to leave tonight, or they'd be on their own, then recalling it 30 minutes later.
This is now an extremely busy airfield. Every few minutes, new planes are coming in, and they are not just from the United States. We've seen them from the UK, Qatar, Australia, civilian aircraft. This is a truly global airlift.
These satellite images show the huge crowds trying to leave the airport. But now, finally, the departures are going smoothly. We watched a Qatari Air Force plane bound for Doha being loaded as U.S. forces monitor air traffic from the runway. But will the airlift be done in a week? Maybe, but it will be difficult because U.S. troops don't just need to fly out Afghans, but also themselves.
So we just left Kabul Airport, and you go through the American checkpoint, and then you're headed over to what looks like another American checkpoint. You see American uniforms, you see soldiers in flak jackets, eye protection, new weapons, M4s, perfect condition. They know how to carry them, but they're not American soldiers. They're the Taliban.
The images are hard to believe that this is how the United States is ending its longest war. American troops just yards from the Taliban helping the U.S. get out and go home. The Taliban are now on almost every corner in Kabul. They weren't hostile to us or anyone we saw. The Taliban claim to have found tolerance since they were in power 2 decades ago. The old tri-colored Afghan flag still flies, and Kabul for now is calm. Traffic cops from the deposed U.S.-backed government have returned to work. The Taliban move among them, and they're giving the orders. There's an old Taliban expression that the Americans have the watches and they have the time. It seems they were right, and the Americans' time is about to run out.
Richard, you've been in and out of Afghanistan dozens of times covering this conflict. What struck you most when you returned today?
I think it was coming out of the airport and seeing the Taliban soldiers so well armed with American equipment. It's clear they're in control here, and it looks like they are going to be in control for quite some time. And before, Afghans had hope. They had hoped there would be a better future, possibilities for traveling abroad, possibilities for education. Now, all they have is faith that the Taliban really have changed. Lester.
All right, Richard, continue to stay safe. If you haven't been vaccinated, the CDC is hoping you'll think long and hard about this. It's a new study that shows the unvaccinated are 29 times more likely to be hospitalized with the virus than those who have gotten the shots. This comes as new infections soar, 227,000 cases, and almost 1,400 deaths reported in the last day. Gabe Gutierrez tonight in Florida, where some hospitals are overwhelmed.
At St. Joseph's Hospital in Tampa, the pandemic is peaking daily.
This is not normal.
Nurse Jamie Lillo says just yesterday she brought 4 patients to the morgue.
I went home last night and I was mad. For sure. Because I don't need to be doing this right now. We could have avoided this whole wave if more people in our country had gone and just gotten 2 shots.
The Baycare Health System now has about 1,200 COVID patients, shattering its previous record of 700 last summer.
This is one of the COVID ICUs. There's 26 beds here, and right now 25 of them are full. The hospital has set up overflow beds in other parts of the facility.
The amount of deaths and dying that we're seeing is, in my whole nursing career, I've never seen anything like it.
Ambulances often have to wait here to drop off patients, or they're rerouted to other hospitals that are also stretched thin.
For example, if we're on critical care bypass, we're saying that we don't have beds or staff to provide care for critical care patients.
So now, essentially, you're diverting ambulances about half the time now because you just don't have the beds.
Exactly.
Across the country, new COVID cases are up about 12% over the previous week. Hospitalizations stayed about the same, but deaths are up 23%.
I think the only chance we have is vaccination, and that's it.
Among healthcare workers, the emotional toll is measured in long shifts and longer memories. Just this week, Jamie Lillo helped care for a fellow nurse who came down with COVID and did not survive.
It could be me. It could be any nurse. It could be anyone we know. And once you're in the bed in the ICU, you don't have any control anymore. I'm still here and I'm still trying, but I want to make people better. That's what I do, and I can't. And it's awful.
Gabe, I vividly remember you reporting in so many hospitals at the start of the pandemic. Here we are now with a vaccine and still seeing hospitals so packed. What's it like?
Lester, it's very surprising. I, along with many healthcare workers a few months ago, doubted it would get this bad. But here at this hospital, it is the worst it's ever been. Of course, it's not like this everywhere, but for healthcare workers here and other places going through surges, it is incredibly frustrating. Lester?
Because it didn't have to be that way. All right, Gabe, thank you. In just 60 seconds, U.S. diplomat stricken by a mystery illness in Vietnam, delaying the vice president's trip. And the COVID spike and travel, what one governor is warning tourists not to do. We're back now with a surprising hours-long delay of Vice President Kamala Harris's flight to Vietnam as the U.S. Embassy dealt with 2 new cases of that mystery illness known as Havana syndrome. Andrea Mitchell joins us now. Andrea, this was very unusual.
That's right, Lester. It was a last-minute delay on the vice president's high-profile trip to Vietnam after embassy staffers reported acoustic symptoms similar to the so-called Havana syndrome over the weekend. At least one is to be medevac for treatment. Security officials decided there was no threat to the vice president since the embassy staff had been working from home because of COVID. NBC has reported as many as 200 reported cases at posts all over the world of this still mysterious ailment. 3 hours late, Vice President Harris arrived in Hanoi, where we are told she will be carrying out her full schedule. Lester.
All right, Andrea, thank you. With cases of the Delta variant of COVID rising, Americans are once again cutting back on travel. And Hawaii is telling residents of the other 49 states, don't come here. More now from Tom Costello.
With overflowing hospitals resorting to outdoor tents, the tourist-dependent Aloha State is tonight asking tourists to stay away. Honolulu restricting restaurant capacity and large gatherings, including weddings. 10 people max at indoor events, 25 at outdoor events.
I did ask everyone, residents and visitors alike, to reduce travel to Hawaii to essential business activities only.
While on the mainland, San Francisco joins New York in requiring restaurant customers to show their vaccine cards.
Only one table of 4 said, see ya. But otherwise, everybody's thankful and very happy.
Meanwhile, the CDC is still advising anyone at risk, including the vaccinated, to avoid cruise ships after a 77-year-old Carnival cruise ship passenger died of COVID. 27 people on board tested positive, though Carnival says the guest almost certainly did not contract COVID on our ship. Also today, Disney Cruise Lines announced that passengers 12 and older going from Florida to its Castaway Cay Island in the Bahamas must be fully vaccinated, required by the Bahamian government.
They're concerned about what you might be bringing to their citizens, and you need to be concerned of what you might pick up when you end up in one of these sites.
The hope that the vaccine and mask requirements here and overseas will help stop the Delta variant from morphing into an even more dangerous form of COVID. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello tonight, thanks. We're back in a moment with the search for a 3-year-old girl, why her disappearance is part of a disturbing trend. Now to the search for a toddler who vanished without a trace in Montana. The case has put a spotlight on what some point out is a disparity in justice for Native Americans, and now the federal government is getting involved. Here's Morgan Radford.
Nearly every day for the past 4 months,
they said that that's where she went in.
Aaron Pepion has been searching.
This is where police believe Arden went in the river?
Yes.
For his little girl.
So far what we found is their coat and her boot.
3-year-old Arden Pepion went missing on April 22nd. She was last seen here in a remote area on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation in northwest Montana, where the man who was babysitting her claims she disappeared while he was practicing shooting his gun near the river. But after a formal search that lasted 10 days, Arden is still missing. Which is why Pepion and his neighbors have taken the search into their own hands.
You think your own kids might end up disappearing. That's how bad it is. You know, we warn our kids every day, my daughters, you know, you can't go here, you know, you might not come home.
How common is it to know someone personally here who has gone missing?
Very common.
Very common.
As Native Americans, we're forgotten. We're forgotten.
What do you mean by that?
They don't follow up with our issues. They don't follow up with our missing. If you're murdered here, missing, they do their search or whatever they need to do, and that's it. That's the end of it.
It's a story that has played out over centuries. In 2020, Native Americans made up 10% of active missing cases, even though they make up just 1.3% of the U.S. population. And on many reservations, Native American women are murdered at a rate 10 times the national average.
It's the complexity of jurisdiction or response when somebody does go missing. There isn't anyone there to hold accountable or ask those questions to.
Now, the federal government is taking steps to change that, creating the first missing and murdered unit formed at the federal level, launched by the nation's first Native American Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland.
This is a crisis that's been happening in our country since colonization, and it's never gotten the attention, the funding, the care that it's needed.
For the Pepion family, that attention can't come soon enough.
Do you think you would have had more support from authorities if you were not a Native family?
Tell you the truth, yes. It seems like they're just like, oh, just another Native death.
What are you hoping for?
I'm hoping to find her one way or another. In the end, justice, because she's just our baby.
Justice for so many families like theirs. Morgan Radford, NBC News, Blackfeet Indian Reservation.
We'll take a short break. Up next, still jumping at life and inspiring America at 100. Here at home, inspiration tonight from a veteran we have come to know well and who just celebrated a birthday milestone in high style. For Tom Rice, the feeling before parachuting 7,500 feet above the earth is a familiar one, and one he welcomed again to celebrate his 100th birthday.
I like to jump. It gives you a new vision of so many things that 90% of the people will never be able to see.
This jump, though, far different than the one he took in 1944 over the Normandy countryside in German-occupied France in a prelude to the D-Day invasion. A few years ago, he recreated that jump, returning to France to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the invasion, where I was lucky enough to meet some of the heroes of that war. With the full knowledge, their ranks grow thinner by the year.
I feel great. Go back up and do it again.
And jump again, he did.
We're honoring all of those that were killed, that didn't make it, that couldn't get home.
Rice landing to cheers from his hometown of Coronado. A birthday celebration, saluting the greatest generation and 100 years of a life well lived.
Sir, congratulations, happy birthday.
It's recognition for somebody who helped shape, this world as we know it now.
Happy birthday, Tom. We love you.
Rice says he hopes to jump again when he's 101. In the meantime, he offers this advice.
There's a lot to be done and a lot to live. It doesn't make any difference what age you are, but do it. End of paragraph.
That's wisdom talking. That's Nightly News for this Tuesday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. I have to say it has been remarkable, truly, to watch the split screen of the two big stories happening right now in America on the eve of the 20th anniversary of September 11th. On one side, of course, Afghanistan falls to the Taliban. The United States attempts to evacuate Americans and Afghan refugees in a chaotic cluster. On the other, we are 18 months into the pandemic and seeing another summer surge that is now taking the lives of about 1,000 people per day. And I cannot help but contrast the two, think about the two next to each other, juxtaposed there on the screen. Now, you don't have to look very far right now to find dire warnings about the situation in Afghanistan. There's the humanitarian aspect, but there are dire warnings from certain people about the security aspect. Ann Applebaum writes in The Atlantic, quote, Afghanistan provides a useful reminder while we and our European allies might be tired of forever wars, the Taliban are not tired of wars at all, nor are Al-Qaeda and other groups who may make Afghanistan their home again in the future.
Overspeed.
Point, even if we are not interested in any of these nations, brutal politics, they are interested in us.
Overspeed.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, the idea of Al-Qaeda reconstituting in Afghanistan does not sound good. It sounds quite bad.
Overspeed.
But let's remember how we got here 20 years later. The generation of Americans who lived through 9/11 were so shocked and traumatized by that day, by the mass murder in spectacular fashion of 3,000 of our fellow citizens. The country lost its mind for a while. Under the leadership of the Bush administration and rooted on by Fox News and even lots of mainstream centrists and establishment voices and heck, even liberals and newspaper columns and on TV, we as a nation, collectively, our government, with our consent, did a bunch of awful things we should not have done. Most notably, invading Iraq, torturing people, opening Guantanamo Bay, which remains open with prisoners still there, still no real process for them. Those 3,000 deaths, 3,000 Americans murdered, an utterly horrific tragedy, were seen, by and large, everywhere, as an existential threat to everything American was. We changed the way we lived. We changed the way we traveled. We started taking our shoes off at the airport. We opened a new, ginormous cabinet agency, the Department of Homeland Security. We spent trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on the military. Huge amounts flowing to defense contractors who have had a very good few decades. We sent hundreds of thousands of American troops around the world. We engaged in warfare in dozens of countries, drone killings in dozens of countries, created an entire new global legal architecture to wage war whenever we wanted at any point in essentially any country. All in an open-ended global war on terror that is now going to enter its third decade, even after we leave Afghanistan. I was, 22 around then, and I remember the saying was, this changes everything. Never forget, this is it. This is a turning point in history.
Sierra, you're leaving my airspace. Resume road navigation. Contact Scottish Centre on 119.875. Good day.
119.875 for Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra. Scottish Centre, Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra, 17,100 feet.
Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra, Scottish Centre, altimeter 30.33, continue as planned.
Now you see me, and now you don't. Do you use a camera cover like this one? Apple says you shouldn't because it might break your screen. But is there even a good reason to cover your camera in the first place? Today I'm going to show you why you don't need to cover your camera, and why you might still want to anyway. Earlier this month, Apple released a support document urging users don't close your MacBook, MacBook Air, or MacBook Pro with a cover over the camera. They say closing the laptop with a cover like this installed not only puts you at risk of damaging the laptop screen, but that it may also interfere with the ambient light sensor and prevent features like automatic brightness and true tone from working. Screen damage appears to be a real issue, as shown by Reddit user CoolV in this photo from December. And if Apple is releasing this advice right now, it's safe to assume the broken screens have been on the rise, perhaps due to more people using their laptops for Zoom calls while working at home. But is there a good reason to cover up the camera on the laptop? The answer, of course, is me. Surely, since the first webcams were attached to computers, hackers and other ne'er-do-wells have been using them to spy on unsuspecting victims. There are, of course, anti-malware programs and other software solutions that can prevent prying eyes from seeing you and me altogether, but many opt for a more analog approach to security. Back in 2016,
Overspeed. 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 Overspeed.
Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra, you're leaving my airspace. Resume on navigation. Contact Glasgow approach on 119.1. Good day.
119.1 Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra. Glasgow approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra 11,700 feet. Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Glasgow approach altimeter 30.33. Continue as planned. Glasgow Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is 9 miles northeast 4,500 feet with Mike to land.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Glasgow Tower. Altimeter 30.3 with com make straight and runway 23.
Fly straight and runway 23 Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra when com cleared to land runway 23.
Landing gear. Landing gear.
Clear to land runway 23 Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Landing gear. 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 Landing gear.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra exit runway when able. Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra turn next taxiway. Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra contact ground on 121.705.
121.705 Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra. Glasgow ground Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to parking.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to general aviation parking via taxiway Delta Golf Lima.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Delta Golf Lima Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
Golf Sierra, hold position, caution other traffic.
Hold position Cessna, X-ray Golf Sierra.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, continue taxi.
Roger Cessna, X-ray Golf Sierra.